Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I got into a car accident in 2016, and I know why I got into that accident. I used to be very sloppy in terms of distracted driving. Now, I never texted and drove. I don't drink, but I used to think nothing about daydreaming, about just generally being lost in thought while I'm driving, right? I That was my main, and it was kind of scary because a lot of times you didn't even realize you were daydreaming, right? It just happened, right? It actually takes a conscious effort to not daydream and drive, right? It doesn't really take a conscious effort to not text and drive, drink and drive, and all that other fun stuff. One day I was on the road. This was in Seattle, Bellevue, just outside of Seattle. I was on the I 405, and I was thinking about my ex-girlfriend. We had broken up because she wanted children, and the reason I was thinking about her was that I had just come home from a computer Olympiad. I was competing in computer AI, and in my mind, I had only scratched the surface of all the AI I wanted to write. And I was thinking maybe I should have had children with her so they could continue my work. And just as I was thinking about that, traffic in front of me slowed down. I couldn't slow down fast enough, and I pull into the shoulder, and unfortunately, somebody else was on the shoulder. They had some kind of car trouble or something like that. Kaboom! And you know what? That accident wasn't for naught. I learned a valuable lesson. For 9 years, every time I get behind the wheel, I remind myself I'm doing something dangerous here. Got to pay attention. The problem is that it's a dangerous activity that if you live in Phoenix, Arizona, you're pretty much forced to do every fucking day. And this constant being surrounded by risk weighs heavily on me. Let's just put it that way. Although it's good that I'm thinking about it these days. Right before 2016, I used to do something dangerous every day and not even realize it. That's why I got into so much trouble. Now, after that accident, I didn't drive for 6 months, if you could believe it. I was very lucky to have. Well, actually, the reason I could live so close to the campus I was working at was I kind of lived in a not so legal arrangement. Over in Seattle, we have a lot of startup companies, and they rent out office space. So we have these office complexes where you can rent an office. I think they're called Regis was the one that I was using, and I rented like a 40 square foot of office to sleep in, and so I was spending so little on that that I could just eat out all the time. So that's how I lived for 6 months, if you can believe it. But toward the end of my time there, I knew I was getting caught and I needed to get out, and that's when I bought the car so I could live out of my car. And I went out and bought a Mitsubishi Lancer. Those were some really good 6 months in my life. So no driving, very low living expenses, and I got to eat out all the. I got to network a lot. Got to understand, I was single at the time, and being able to eat out all the time was. Nowadays, if I got to eat out all the time, I'd probably be sick of it. But I went out to buy the car. It was a Mitsubishi Lancer, and my first week with the car, gotta understand, when money's tight, the last thing you want to see when you're driving is a police car behind you. Even if you're not generally a reckless driver, I don't know how many of my viewers can relate, right? You got a police car behind you. Am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? It will induce you to do something wrong, even if you had no intention of doing so. Just the anxiety of it. Anyway, I see a police car behind me. I'm anxious, and next thing I know, he actually does flash his lights. And I pull over, and he tells me to pull into, because this is a busy shopping plaza. He tells me to pull into. It turns out to be this car dealership. I pull in there. It turns out that I wasn't sure how to use the lights. I only had them like half on or something like that, and he doesn't give me a ticket. But the problem is that the way he pulled me into that parking lot of the car dealership. I was jammed in. There was not enough room to make a K-turn. I had to back out of that place. Keep in mind, I had just gotten over my fear of driving just 1 week earlier, and now I'm dealing with this. It took me like 15, 20 minutes just to pull out of a parking lot. In the middle of it was like 8, 9 p.m. It wasn't like things were moving or anything. There's just not enough. This is before the days of backup cameras, I should mention. Fortunately, cars now come with backup camera. Actually, I need to get a backup camera in my. I drive a Honda Civic now that I'm remembering this. And the following day after all of this, and after I got I couldn't get any good sleep, but I did try to sleep a little bit. I wrote an email to the police department. I started by thanking them for making sure I was safe. Thanks for showing me the lights. Just want to point out something. Just could you please be mindful where you pull people over? Yesterday, I took a photograph of the place. Yesterday, you pulled me in here, and there's not enough room to make a turn, and I literally had to back out, and I don't have a camera. And the response, I think the officer who got my email forwarded to somebody higher up, and their response was, well, driving comes with responsibilities. If you don't know how to do that, you should turn in your license or something to that effect. It was a very stern. I gotta look at it. I probably still have it in my email somewhere. And he suggested that I go back to driving school if that stuff troubles me so much, something to that effect. And so, unfortunately, that kind of attitude is not unusual in our society, right? I have never gotten very far when I point out driving anxieties and such. In 2018, I had just lost my job at a technology startup. I was in the midst of pivoting my career. I was going to start work at Washington Tech, where I began my teaching career. And so I was unemployed for 2 months. And I could swing it, but it was tight. And so every time I would drive it, I would see a police car behind me. I would be a nervous wreck. Even if I never got pulled over, I would still be a wreck. If it were nighttime and this happened, and even if I didn't get pulled over, I often couldn't sleep for many hours. If it were during the daytime, I would be often messed up at work. And it's just really frustrating. I wish I had, do I hate the police? No, I don't. In an ideal world, I'd have enough resources to come here to Taiwan once or twice a year. I could max out my Roth IRA, and I could make an occasional donation to the police department because of all the nice work they do when they give me a ticket, right? That would be the ideal case, right? I don't hate or dislike them, but the money was tight. One day it was 10 o'clock at night, and I just had the misfortune of being in front of a cop car. Nothing crazy. I'm not speeding. My lights are working. Everything's fine. It's 10 o'clock at night. I look out in front of me, and there's a street, what I thought was a main street in front of me. I thought, okay, I'm going to turn there and let the police car pull forward. I pull into what I thought was a street. It turned out to be the entrance to a church. I pull in, and the cop follows me and flashes his lights. And it turns out they had some recent robberies in the area, and when the cop realized that I had lived out of my car, I told him that I'm kind of in between jobs. I'm just getting ready to start a new job in a couple of weeks, and so he wished me well, and that was good. But again, my chest pounded for God knows how long that time, and I probably didn't sleep very well that night. Again, it's one of those things, right? Do I hate or dislike? No, I just don't have the resources, the bandwidth even to deal with it. I'm just getting ready to start a new job. Often money is tight. Often, even when money's not tight, there's stuff that I want to be doing, right? Like 2 years ago, I was putting all my money into my art. You guys remember that, right? And I don't have to think about that here in Taiwan. We have a good subway system. We have the Taiwan Rail, which circles the entire island. And so you never have very seldom do you think about a car. Maybe once a year you might rent a car if you're moving, right? At best, right? But you get onto the subway, and that's it, right? You're not thinking about police cars. You're not thinking about accidents. You might think about the schedule, but they come so often that very seldom do you even think about that. And you can feel free to daydream if you want. You can feel free to get some other stuff done. You might miss your stop if you do that. No big deal. Sometimes you miss your stop. You find something else on the subway line that you didn't even know existed. And that's how I've been living for the last 6 weeks. And I really despise cars now. One time, I got into some road rage. What had happened was, back in Bellevue, Washington, we have a lot of red light cameras, which is maybe a good thing. One day, I was just about to pull onto this really scenic route, and I noticed that the light had just turned yellow, and I thought, oh great, I could lose the car behind me. So I go on the yellow light, but the car behind me decides to follow me, and the red light camera flashes at him, and he was so upset at me. He thought maybe I should have stopped, so he would have stopped. Something to that effect. He opens his window, screams at me, and waves a middle finger at me. And at the next light, I'm so upset. Now I really want to lose him. So I waited until the light turned yellow to go, figuring that hopefully this guy learned his lesson. I went on the yellow, and he followed me. He got another ticket! And so he was so upset, cursing and screaming, saying he wants to kill me, waving stuff and throwing stuff out the window. And here I don't have to worry about that. If somebody gets really ragey, I could get off of the subway, right? One day I was on the subway here in Taiwan, and I noticed a police car outside the subway, and for one split second I panicked, and because I'm so used to panicking when I see a police car on the road. And I realized, wait a minute, I'm not driving. And that was a really nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. I even waved hello at the officer. Can't write me a ticket this time, I guess. And so that was a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. The other day when I went to renew my train pass, it dawned on me, wait a minute, I pay less for riding the train every month here than I do back home for washing my car every month. Just for washing the fucking car. And then I remember all the times my car unexpectedly dies. To give you an idea, when I got to go on a date last November, I showed up 3 hours ahead of time because I was so worried that a tire was going to blow, the engine was going to fail, something was going to happen to my car. I don't have to do that. When I go on a date here in Taiwan, I might show up 30 minutes early just in case something comes up, right? But not 3 hours. And then the car finally died. And when I think about it, it's really upsetting because back home in the U.S., a lot of people, myself included, a lot of people have to do side hustles to make ends meet. But more often than not, side hustles involve a lot of driving to places, with all of the anxieties that come with seeing the cops, with all the costs of driving, with all the opportunity costs, and with all the frictions involved in your car breaking down. And depending on how important the gig might be, you might show up an hour or two early, with all of that added to it, right? Yesterday, I was thinking about this, and I did a quick calculation, just accounting a calculation, if you will. And I estimated that the opportunity cost for me to drive a mile was about $2 to $2.50. And it kind of makes sense because that's how much you might charge somebody for a ride, right? So that kind of did make sense. And it made me realize how much money I was losing doing a lot of side hustles. The only reason I was doing the side hustles was that the money I make right there and then, right? The opportunity costs come in the form of my car breaking down in the future, come in the form of future healthcare costs. They come in the form of missing other career opportunities. They come in the form of missing out on social opportunities, right? And so it's kind of unfair that because all of those future opportunity costs don't show up as a bill, that these people who hire for gigs can pay so little, right? And when I was, it kind of felt unfair, right? Anyway, that's my gist on why I hate driving so much. I hope you could digest this, think about it, internalize it, and make some waves about it. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.